Howdy, hello again. Video number, I don't even know what number this is. We will be talking about the Hopper landscape. You should have this in front of you. The link is already up there on either Blackboard or Moodle, wherever you're watching from. So please get a hold of it. It's a very short essay, very small, and this is in the beginning of a number of essays that we'll be talking about in terms of argument. Okay, don't forget that's the rhetorical pattern. Although, as I said in the other clip, there's a lot of people who don't feel that argument is even a rhetorical pattern because it includes the others. However, there are some things we should know about this. Now, I want to remind everybody we did this block method and alternating method. We talked about fast food restaurants a couple of weeks ago in class. So those things are available to us, not in this one so much, but in other topics, and maybe one of the topics that you intend to write about. You should be thinking about these things. Maybe even something that's got something to do with this ordeal that we're all going through. Maybe something's come up where you disagree with something that's going on, or have come in opposition with ideas with other people, or politicians or leaders of some kind. Anyway, it doesn't have to be about this. This essay is about a town in Massachusetts. Again, you can stop the video here and go download it or get it on your laptop or your iPad or your phone and read it as I'm talking about it. I'm not going to read the essay out loud. It's short, but this is not for me to read to. This is for us to talk about. So if you haven't read the essay, I suggest you stop the tape right now, go read it, and come back to me. Anyway, it starts off, it's about Edward Hopper. If you've not seen Edward Hopper's work, you should. You should all go to a museum and go look around and explore lots of artists. This is one of them. He's a great American artist of the 20th century. You might have seen his work on the covers of magazines or on pictures elsewhere. He's very stark, uses bright lights. He's very interesting to look at and impossible not to recognize. Once you've seen his work, you've seen his work. He's a great painter and interesting anyway, so it's a good experience for no other reason but to experience Hopper. Anyway, the basic story of this essay is that in South Truro, Massachusetts, there's a workshop where he used to paint. And this is back in the early part of in the early to middle 20th century. He died in 1967. And the people of South Truro, Massachusetts, he's a big tourist attraction. They like him. He's a native son. So they want to keep the workshop where he was intact. And when he used to look out the window, he used to see the mountains and the landscape there, and he used to paint a lot of those things. So that's fine. The problem, of course, as it says in the essay, and they tell you this right in the first two paragraphs of the essay. Keep in mind, that's one way of thinking about this. You should oftentimes present the issue. Don't forget, the reader has no idea what it is you're going to be taking a position on. So you have to let the reader know exactly what the issue is that you are about to take a position on. So doing that up front is always a good idea. There are other ways of doing it. We'll see other ways later, but that's one way. And so we find out that somebody is going to build the distance between the workshop and the mountain range is a huge expanse of property, and somebody's bought it and wants to build a huge building, hence blocking the view from the painter's workshop to the mountains that he used to paint. People are all up in arms about this, and they go to a town meeting and they're arguing, don't do this, it's ruining the view. It's a pretty open and shut case legally. Man buys the property, he can do what he wants with the property. Therefore, case closed and go away. People are still not happy about this, and so even though this is an easy issue to take care of legally, the writer of this essay, Mr. Klinkenborg, is trying to appeal to the people of Massachusetts and explain to them that, and here's where his third party idea comes in. It's not simply a matter of the townspeople versus the man who owns the property where he's going to build a big building. He's trying to find a third way into this to satisfy everyone. And again, I'm urging all of you, no matter what you decide to write about, to at least consider the idea of coming up with another alternative. I think you know this from listening to me talk in the classroom, that I'm not forcing anyone to be thinking about the world in terms of binary ways. It's not. There are some things that are black and white and good and bad and all that stuff, but most of the time there's other ways of looking at things. And we're seeing this even with this virus business, that there are all kinds of perspectives on it. Very negative, very positive, a lot of in the middle. And how we're going to deal with this, certainly is up to the people in charge. But in terms of just writing an argument, you don't always have to absolutely agree or disagree, or be for or against, or like or dislike. And this is a good case in point. The writer decides the guy can do what he wants to do. Understand, the essay is talking to the people of South Truro, Massachusetts, saying that it doesn't matter if he builds this. We've already got what we need. Let me find. He says the landscape that Hopper saw and painted in the paintings already exists in his paintings. We've got the result of what he looked at. It exists, I'm reading now, I'm quoting, it exists in his paintings, nowhere else. What matters, artistically speaking, isn't the actual view that Hopper saw during his summers in South Truro. What matters is the inner view that resulted in those painted landscapes. So for instance, if you go to see the Mona Lisa in France, you don't have to hold up a picture of the real Mona Lisa and compare it to the painting. You've got the painting, that's really all we want. So this is what he's saying. So don't worry about the view being blocked. We've got the art. And that's really what we wanted. We want the art. We don't hold his paintings of the mountains up to the real mountains and see how he did. That's not how it works. And so we need to all relax. And if we understand that, then whether he builds a skyscraper or a parking lot does not detract from the notion of having the beautiful paintings that Hopper painted for us over the years in the 20th century. Everybody wins, according to this writer. Now, some of you are thinking, well, it's true that this may impact on the tourist fare in terms of how many people are going to come to the workshop if they don't have a view. That's hard to say, and I don't know, it wouldn't bother me. I mean, I would just still go to the workshop to see where the man worked. And yeah, I don't have the view, but at least I know what goes on in there. I've been to a couple of painters' workshops. They all look pretty much the same, messy and paint spilled everywhere, and easels and canvases. But you don't need to see the view. If you've got the view, it's nice, but if you don't have it, you've still got the art. And that's what I mean about, so the people in the town's meeting, they had to vote for or against, like that. It was binary. And this writer is saying, there's another way of looking at this where we don't have to get all bent out of shape. So consider this. Consider the next time you are in any kind of a disagreement or a discussion where two people have two opposing views and you've got another point of view. There's that third point of view or a fourth point of view. And this makes a huge difference. So it can make for a very interesting article or an essay that you might write. Even if you do include the other 2 points of view, a third one sort of makes it a longer and more interesting paper. Anyway, there it is. It's all right there. By the end of this essay, he wants to, of course, protect the landscape and all of that, but the idea of protecting the content of the artist's gaze is sort of unrealistic. And that kind of thinking makes the people of the town hopefully relax and go back about their work, about their life. That's it. Short one today. Be thinking about your topics. I'm going to be asking you in a week or so to send me the ideas you have for an argument. As always, I'll ask you why. What is the purpose of it? Who is it for? Why are we even discussing this? Those kinds of things. And again, I would urge you to think about that in a non-binary way. I think it makes for an interesting way of considering a paper. Also, just as another side note, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the other video, but you don't, depending on your topic, you don't always have to offer the other viewpoint. It's not, a lot of times students think, well, I have to, if I put in my point of view, I've got to put in the other point of view too. It's not always the case. And again, I'll try to address that in upcoming videos, but sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes just listening to one point of view implies the other, and the other one's not necessary. Sometimes you gotta have it. So we'll talk about this. We'll address this later on. Anyway, folks, as always, wash your hands and peace.